There are three elements that make a circle of faith. And these three elements are something that we're going to seriously discuss in this episode. Hi, I'm Jimi Hendrick, and this episode is called The Circle of Faith on Empower Your Pattern. I'm Jimi Hendrick, Success, Confidence, and Thrive Coach, member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and founder of James Hendrick Empowerment. I believe there are patterns to help you receive more, to help you live a better and extraordinary life right now. I also can give you these temporal and spiritual tips to help you overcome the adversities in everyday life. Okay, guys, come sit here in the Empower Your Pattern Leadership Library and grab you a beverage, some mint tea, some water, lemonade, whatever you wish to have, No alcohol served in the Empower Your Pattern area, universe, though. Okay, guys, sit down. We're going to talk about something. I did some research, and there was a website called Bible.org. Let's talk about the Circle of Faith. It talks about the three tests, the three-legged stool that makes the Circle of Faith, that supports it. Correct doctrine, correct action, and correct love. Now, I'm going to do some research. I'll be back with you in a minute. The theologian Boyd K. Packer says true doctrine, understood, changes his attitudes, and behavior. And one thing I think he discusses is that a study of true behavior alone is insufficient. That the study of doctrine is better. I was talking to my ministering brother in church, and the one thing he said that I admire is this. I was talking to him about, seeking some answers to some questions about how to proceed forth in my life in the scriptures. And he said, Jimmy, you will find them in the scriptures. And I believe that. I firmly believe that. Now, I don't feel like I've been studying the scriptures as adequately as maybe I should. But true doctrine, that's a main support to that main support stool to that circle. Now, I'm going to liken that to the three-legged stool of the cat method. Doctrine. To me, doctrine influences choices. Okay, this is something for you to think about. Doctrine influences choices. Because one of the causes that I firmly believe in is the sanctity of life. And so, one of the choices that I may have, and this is the cause that James Hendrick Empowerment believes in, is the sanctity of life and particularly protecting the preborn. This is a cause that I'll firmly believe in until the cows come home. Or until the Lord comes, which is more important, because when the Lord comes, the sanctity of life will be protected. Non-negotiable, So, yeah, that is a cause that stands for the James Hendrick Empowerment, the James Hendrick Empowerment Network, and Empower Your Pattern. Because one thing, and I guess I should have said this from the get-go, is that patterns have life. So, True doctrine is at the center of that pattern, because it's one of the main support systems to the circle of faith. Okay, now, I think it makes sense that as a Latter-day Saint, that once we know correct principles, we're able to govern ourselves. And we are. And we're united in that, even though we may have some disagreements on how to apply the truth. Then this is where correct action, true action. Okay? Give me just a moment. Okay, maybe we can unpack this. This is a quote from Jeffrey R. Holland. It says, showing up is essential. Showing up with purpose is powerful. Showing up with a positive attitude is even more powerful. You think about it, okay? Yes, it's okay to just show up, but just showing up is not enough. We need to have purpose and a positive attitude to step out by faith. Okay? In doctrine, you think on faith, but with a true action, you exercise that faith. You walk by faith. Yesterday, I was sitting in a sacrament meeting, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and one of our sisters in the church was talking about, how she had to, in many ways, exercise faith and walk by faith. And a lot of things that she talked about, to some degree, resonated with me. Many of you know, and then I may or may not have said this recently, but I will. I suffer from bipolar disorder. And so that becomes, in some ways, a problem. But listening to her and the strength she had by faith, it was like the Spirit was telling me, Jimmy, you need to exercise more faith. You need to walk by faith. And walking by faith means taking consistent, positive, correct action. See, that's the act stool of the of the CAP method. You notice how the circle of faith and my CAP coaching method have a lot in common. They do. My faith is a huge part. In fact, it's the greater part of everything that I do. You can't separate my faith from my life. Now, there's something I can't say that it's constant in any given moment. Okay, I have my weak points, but I work on working with this in any way I can, in every way I can. Cause see, that's the blessing. That is the good blessing of, you step in action. I remember there was a time between 2008 and 2013 that I had a weak point. And I began to study, to some extent, delving into some Eastern religion. And one of the things that they talked about was, putting faith into action. But, and I had remembered that back in the days, when I first joined the church. But for some reason, I felt like I was stuck. I couldn't progress any further. And I blamed it on the fact that I'm not married. And there's times I get stuck in thinking there, but then I think, hey, Jimmy, you can progress in other areas too. And so that's what I have to keep reminding myself is you can progress in other areas too. And since I doubt I'll marry this side of eternity. I stand on the fact of progressing in actions and in self-empowerment. Because John F. Kennedy, he said, great is the price and cost of action. But even greater is the price and cost. Even greater is the price and cost of action. But even greater is the cost of inaction. So action's important. Action is now. Not hasty, but you make an informed choice and then you take action. You take action. Avoid analysis paralysis. We talked about that a few episodes back. And it's important that we talk about it now. Here's the next one. Correct love. I really don't know how to explore this except the concept that is born out of some pain in my life. February 10th, 1999. My ex-wife and I had a fight the night before. And I was sleeping on one of the couches downstairs in our townhouse apartment. I went upstairs in hopes, reconcile. I was like, honey, I don't want us to split up. And she said, but I do. And the shock just come over me. And I remember I started listening to a song at the time that I had arranged. I honestly thought would be the love song between me and her. But that's here or there. At some point she calls me, we have a meeting downstairs. And she said, how do you love me? I was caught like a deer in the headlights. I said, well, in a way, you're like my sister. It was like an unconditional family-style love that I had towards her. But sadly, she didn't respond to that love. Because sadly, the people in her life, in the Conquest of Truth, I've given them the names Mark and Stephanie. Stephanie said, Jimmy, that love is not good enough. And so our marriage broke up on those grounds. And so for 2 years, I was confused. I was searching for what love is. What is it? Because the road signs were not clear at this point. February 27, 2001. I came in for what would be my last day on my volunteer job at Legal Aid, and I had accidentally made a clerical error. And I was called in by one of the bosses, and I was told, you're fired. And I was devastated. But the good news was the past 4 months I had began looking at the church website. And looking, what correct doctrine was. And that through correct doctrine, there was correct love. And the more I read, the more I knew it was true. I remember that night I was journaling. I was pouring my heart out about how I knew the church was true. And how I knew I had to progress. And I remember that night I broke down crying. But I feel like it was more tears of joy because I knew what I had to do. Because you see, none of my friends at the time, I don't really think they knew what pure love is. Pure love is this, I gotta say, in some ways, it's unconditional. But it's a covenant bond of love, which I think, sadly, has been misplaced. And you're probably thinking, well, Jimmy, this is back to the usual psychobabble, and I never thought you'd do that. Yeah, I know, but listen to me. This is more faith than it is psychology. Because you see, when I found my ex-wife, I honestly thought I knew what true, pure love was. Because, and I still do believe that the love I had for her, to some degree still have for her, is true, pure love. Okay, that was back in 1996 when we started dating after knowing each other for nearly 8 years. But by late 1998, early 1999, the pure love, the true pure love that I thought was there, it got replaced. And it was only through the love of the covenant path in the gospel where I found out what pure love was. You know? So that's it. You know, the three-legged stool, you can't have one of these without the other. The pure doctrine, the pure action, and the pure love. The pure doctrine is the main support stool, backed up by pure action and supported by pure love. They're three separate and distinct, but they're one in purpose. Same as the Godhead. Now, I sure hope that you enjoyed listening to Empower Your Pattern 2.0. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and become a citizen of the pattern realm. It's Jimi Hendrix saying until next time. Now, don't you just sit there and take it. Go out there and act and build your dreams so you can take it. Do what others don't so you can be what others won't. And do what others won't so you can have what others can't. That's why I introduced this circle of faith, so you guys can begin to understand where I stand and the positions of Empower Your Pattern and James Hendrick Empowerment. And with that, I'm going to tell you, go out there and choose, act, and pursue happiness. God bless you. Have a blessed day.